So that right there is a psychological operation. And because we're reading about Sigmund Freud, they diagnose you. When they don't want you to look into something, they diagnose you. So right there, he's going, oh my, are they just doing this to create content? Are these people akin to drug addicts? They're just high on the conspiracy theory. They're gaslighting you, and then they're diagnosing you.
Candace Owens finally went off and tore through every rumor swirling around Mike McCoy, Charlie Kirk's right-hand man, and the viral clip that's got the internet losing its mind. She didn't sugarcoat a thing. The second Charlie was hit, Mike didn't rush to check on him, didn't call for help, didn't even flinch. He just turned around, raised his phone to his ear, and walked off calm as day. Who does that after something like that? Candace slowed the clip down frame by frame, and the crowd couldn't believe what they were seeing. The shot rings out, not even a heartbeat later. Mike turns his back, phone up, strolling off like he's late to brunch. The whole room's in chaos and people screaming, ducking, running. But Mike? He looks like he's heading out of church. That level of calm sent chills through everyone watching. She paused the video right on him and said, there he is, right there. Charlie hadn't even fallen yet, and his chief of staff was already walking away. And even as medics rushed in while the SUV was being loaded, Mike was still calmly talking on the phone like nothing happened. Then came Candace's next bombshell. She said Mike's dad, who's a pastor, lied to the press. He said his son was covered in blood, she said, but he wasn't. Not a drop. That single line flipped the internet upside down. If what she showed is real, the whole official story suddenly sounds more like a setup than an accident. Candace wasn't done dragging the weak excuses his defenders tried to spin. They claimed he was just covering his ears after the gunfire. But Candace replayed the clip in slow motion and said, they want us to believe he wasn't talking to anyone, just lifting his phone because it was loud. She called it pure nonsense. No one else in the room did that.
Here's the last thing I want to make a point of. And Charlie, because Charlie had given me similar instructions along the years. Said, if anything ever happens to me, you call Erica.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
And he drilled that into Mikey's brain so that when this moment of trauma happened, that he turned around and he knew how to do it. And by the way, last thing, because this is part of the video allegations here, is that they think they're alleging that he was on the phone immediately. He was not. He was taking social videos, which he would send to our group chat, which we would then put on Charlie's social while the event was happening, so you could see like the crowd come in or his interactions. And we were only 2 questions into this event, so he was still getting it out to all the chats he needed to do, which he did at every event.
Everyone else panicked, but Mike, calm, steady, phone glued to his ear like it was part of a routine. Even after walking 50 yards from the chaos, that phone never left his hand. It looked off, way too off. Then Candace asked the question everyone's been screaming online. If he was really on a call, why not show the phone records? Why not pull up the timestamp, the contact, anything? It would have been the easiest thing in the world to prove. Instead, he went silent, and TPUSA brought in some colonel guy to speak for him. Candace went in on that too. They'll bring on anyone to cover for him, anyone but the man himself. Things got even shadier when she pointed out that Mike's dad, the pastor, claimed he was on the phone with him at that exact moment. But the footage says otherwise. So who's lying? Candace asked. Because if both those stories are false, that's not confusion, that's deception. The audience lost it at that. Too many contradictions, too many calm faces in a moment that should have been chaos. Candace didn't pull punches. She called out how TPUSA and the media tried to twist everything, pushing the story that Mike was just scared of another shot. Scared? She snapped. If you're scared, you duck. You don't stroll away like you're on a phone call. She said he wasn't nervous. He was prepared, like he already knew what was about to happen. That line hit hard. The room went silent. Then she dropped the comparison that set the internet on fire. Candace said this felt just like the Seth Rich case. Same pattern, same media gaslighting.
He turns around and it was so blaringly loud, I'm told. You would know this better than I. This is what I'm told. It was so blaringly loud and he was so shell-shocked. He put his fingers in his ear, but his phone was still in his hand. He walks away and he's...
not even walk. I want to, because people are talking about that. The way it was is we had a cordoned off area with grates, so you had controlled access. All the people, when this happens, they all get the idea we should leave before we are shot. And so there's a little narrow gap that I think people, it's not really walking. It's that everyone has to slow up to get through this little narrow choke point to get out of the area.
Same don't ask questions playbook. She said, they called me crazy for asking questions back then. Now they're doing it again. She reminded people how the FBI first denied having Seth's laptop, then admitted it, then said they couldn't read it, until a judge ordered the files released and they said it'd take 65 years. That's not justice, she said. That's a cover-up with a deadline. And she didn't stop there. She straight up accused Turning Point USA of gaslighting the public. They're not protecting Charlie's legacy. she said. They're manipulating you. She called out host Jimmy by name, saying, "These people twist the truth for a living." Candace pointed to how TPUSA's statements keep changing, how they dodge bringing Mikey forward to talk, and how everything smells like control, not confusion. If there's nothing to hide, she asked, then why all the smoke? By the time Candace wrapped up her segment, her audience sat frozen. She had just accused one of the biggest conservative organizations in America of straight up running psychological warfare on their own people. Gaslighting, lying, and staging narratives, she declared, "That's what they're doing, and I've got the receipts." Boom! The internet lit up instantly. What started as a whisper turned into a wildfire overnight. Candace wasn't easing up. She tore through every lie thrown out to defend Mike McCoy like a storm. "His father lied," she shouted. "He said Mikey was covered in blood. He wasn't."
Okay, elsewhere, they say that, so basically he was on the phone, he was holding his ears, okay? And then once he got out into the distance beyond the car that Charlie would be carried into is when he called Erica first and then his father. That's what they tell us. Now, in regards to him saying that Mikey was taking social videos, I can tell you, it tracks that Mikey would be taking videos behind, like, when Charlie first comes out of the event, he's throwing hats. That tracks. That absolutely is a thing at Turning Point USA. You follow the person to get behind the scenes. I would have Savannah do this before Mikey McCoy did this. It was Sarah Schmachtenberger. And they do that. They like the behind the scenes reactions.
They said he helped Charlie into the SUV. He didn't. They said he made sure Charlie got to the hospital. He didn't. She hit those words like drum beats, each one sharper than the last. People watching couldn't even blink. She broke it all down with receipts. Before Charlie Kirk's body even hit the floor, Mike McCoy had already left the scene. Candace froze the video again and zoomed in. "Watch right here," she said. The shot fires, and before Charlie even moves, Mikey's already turning his back. Less than a second. Not an ounce of panic, not a glance, not even a twitch toward Charlie. Just cold, robotic calm. Phone to his ear, walking away like he's clocking out. Candace leaned in, voice cutting through the noise. "We're talking 800 milliseconds!" That's not reaction time. That's preparation. The audience erupted. Because if that timing is real, then Mikey didn't just fail to react. He expected the shot. And when people started saying he came back to help, Candace laughed out loud. "Show me where," she said. "I'll wait."
But in this particular video, he's not standing where you can get a view of Charlie asking a question. So this part is not tracking. Okay, Mikey is not standing to the side of Charlie. He is behind. And so if you're saying what earlier, we're supposed to see him, the best place to stand if you're going to get a video of Charlie asking a question is going to be in a place where you can see both Charlie and the person asking the question. And that's just not where he's standing. So that excuse doesn't make sense to me. Now, maybe he's saying Mikey was there when he was throwing hats out and he was there trying to send videos thereafter once things got started. That's all possible. I don't know.
She replayed the footage. There's the SUV, there's the chaos, and there's Mikey still strolling away, phone in hand, cool as ever. "They lied to your face," she shouted, "and thought you'd swallow it." She went after the claim that Mikey called Erica or his dad, calling it a scripted excuse. "He couldn't have called anyone that fast," she snapped. "He didn't even see Charlie fall. How can you call someone about something you didn't see?" The crowd gasped. The math didn't add up, and Candace made sure nobody missed that. Her tone turned sharp as glass. "He wasn't ducking. He wasn't scared. He wasn't confused," she said. "He was calm, steady, and locked in on the phone." Then came the sarcasm. "And we're supposed to believe he was covering his ears? Really? Out of the entire room, he's the only one walking away calmly, holding his phone like it's a prop? Please." The crowd couldn't believe how ridiculous it sounded once she said it like that. Then Candace pointed right into the camera, accusing Turning Point USA of running psychological manipulation right in front of everyone. "You're watching a psyop," she yelled. "They're gaslighting you, making you question your own eyes." Her energy was electric. No filters, no hesitation. She didn't sugarcoat it either. "If you believe their story," she said, "you're being played. You're not a supporter."
Regarding him putting his hands up to his ear, it does sound completely plausible to me that if you first hear a gunshot, you're going to naturally do this, right? That kind of makes sense. You're going to go, what was that maybe? And then I think typically you'd get down. And the issue that I have is I never see him take that phone down. Maybe he does, right? Maybe he does. We don't know for a fact. And so we should be clear that it doesn't look to me like he's just covering his ears there. What I will say is that it would be unlikely that you would keep holding your ears.
You're a pawn. The audience roared in agreement. Comments flooded in, calling the footage unnatural, scripted, fake. It was chaos, but the kind that builds momentum. Candace then tore apart the most ridiculous claim of all, and that Charlie's spine somehow stopped a .30-06 bullet. That's not science, that's a fairy tale, she snapped. That round can go through steel, and you expect me to believe it just stopped? People were stunned. Then she turned the heat up on Kash Patel, calling his defense a pile of fake authority wrapped in lies. And just when everyone thought she was done, Candace dragged out the text to Charlie's lover story, the one the media hyped for a week before quietly scrubbing it. They dropped that garbage because everyone realized it was fake, she said, slamming the table so hard it echoed through the mic. By the time she finished, the whole room was buzzing. Candace had just dismantled the entire defense in under 10 minutes flat. Her words weren't just loud, they were lethal. Then she went full scorched earth mode, shredding the official version like it was some bad Hollywood script. Now they want us to believe, she said with a smirk, that someone laid out every step of this so-called assassination, texted it to his boyfriend, and then just sat there like it's normal? She rolled her eyes. That's not reality, that's a fantasy. Candace said believing Turning Point USA and Kash Patel's story required mental gymnastics no sane person could pull off. There isn't a pretzel twisted enough to make this make sense, she yelled. You'd have to abandon logic, evidence, and basic human nature just to defend this nonsense. The audience was screaming in the comments. Fire emojis, clapping hands, full chaos. Then she turned philosophical for a moment, hitting a nerve that left people quiet. Some of you defend this madness because you've tied your loyalty to a group, to Trump, to MAGA, to Israel, and now you can't let go, she said. You'll believe anything if it keeps you loyal, but that's not loyalty. That's delusion. Her voice shook with intensity. Finally, she compared it to the pandemic, people obeying, defending contradictions, and never questioning anything because their side said it was truth. Remember COVID, she said? That was the Democrats' blind faith. They believed every word from Fauci, from Collins, from the media. No questions asked. The crowd exploded. It was the perfect mic drop moment. Candace brought the fire again, this time going straight for the media and the fake experts who mocked anyone daring to question the story. They called ivermectin horse paste, she said, shaking her head like she still couldn't believe it. Even though it's literally on the World Health Organization's list of essential medicines, it even won a Nobel Prize for human use. But the minute Joe Rogan took it, he was suddenly a lunatic? The crowd gasped, and then she added, and now look, same trick, new topic. Her tone was sharp, slicing through the noise like a blade. It's the same playbook, she said. They mocked, shamed, silenced, and gaslit, and now they're doing it again. The same smiling faces, the same soft voices pretending to inform you while selling you a script. Her words hit hard. People could feel the echo of déjà vu in every syllable. Candace leaned forward, her eyes fierce. They're counting on your silence, she shouted. They win when you stop thinking for yourself. That's the oldest trick in the book. Make you afraid to question and then feed you lies with a straight face. The energy in the room shifted. It wasn't just a monologue anymore, it was a wake-up call. She then turned her sights on the so-called leaders of the conservative movement. The same people yelling, "Trust the system," are the ones who've lied over and over again, she said. You can't tell these fake conservatives apart from the Pod Save America crew anymore. Same suits, same script, same loyalty to power over truth. The crowd cheered wildly. People were fired up. And then she dropped the line that made jaws drop. Charlie Kirk's death story doesn't just fall apart under pressure, it disintegrates, she declared. They want you to doubt your eyes, question your instincts, and pretend logic doesn't exist. Her tone was fierce, almost shaking with anger. It's the same psychological warfare they used during COVID, but now they're turning it inward on their own base. She paused for a moment, letting the silence speak, then hit them with one last warning. If you're still defending these people after all this, she said, then you're not standing for truth, you're standing in line for lies. The crowd went absolutely wild. Applause, shouting, cheering, and it was like watching someone rip the curtain down in real time. But Candace wasn't finished. She looked directly into the camera and said, let's talk about the people pretending to believe this nonsense, because real MAGA folks know better. The room erupted again. Anyone who knows guns knows what a .30-06 round does, she said. And it's not stopping at someone's neck, that's a fairy tale. Her disbelief dripped from every word. She laid it out plain and simple. They want you to think someone shot Charlie, broke down the weapon, changed clothes, reassembled it, hid it in a towel, jumped off a 2-story building, and disappeared, all in seconds. You really think that's possible? The crowd laughed in disbelief because when she said it like that, it sounded straight up ridiculous. Candace raised an eyebrow, her tone turning cold. The only people pretending to believe that story are the ones too scared to question the names behind it, she said. Because to do that, they'd have to call out Trump, Israel, TPUSA, and the FBI, all the people they've built their brand around. The tension was heavy. Everyone knew exactly what she meant. Then she name-dropped without hesitation. That's why Megyn Kelly's acting like she believes this story, she said. It's easier to stay quiet than tell the truth. The crowd gasped. She wasn't holding back. It's the same way Democrats acted with Fauci. Same blind faith, same worship of authority, just with different names. Her tone shifted again, calmer but sharper than ever. People don't actually want truth anymore, she said. They want peace with their paychecks. They want comfort with their favorite politicians. They'd rather keep their jobs than keep their soul. Then she smirked, mocking the fake loyalty she sees all around. I just want to be a good boy, she said in a sing-song tone. I won't question Trump or Patel or TPUSA. I'll just close my eyes and pretend it all makes sense. The crowd burst out laughing. But behind the laughter was real tension, because everyone knew people like that existed. Candace's voice grew louder again, filled with raw frustration. That's not loyalty, that's fear, she shouted. If your friends drop you for telling the truth about a murder, then they were never your friends. The crowd went wild. People were standing, clapping, shouting facts. Then she turned the spotlight right back on Mikey McCoy. It's almost like Charlie told them ahead of time, you know, if I ever get shot, don't help me, just walk away, she said sarcastically. Because that's what it looked like he got the memo. Gun goes off, phone to ear, turn around, and stroll off calm as can be. She replayed the footage again and the audience was glued to the screen. No shock, no panic, no human reaction, she said. He didn't freeze, didn't flinch, didn't even look. Who does that? Who walks away like that? The crowd murmured. People were uncomfortable, but they couldn't look away. Then she hit the emotional core. If you've ever been near violence, you know that instinct kicks in. You duck, you move, you panic. But him? He's calm. Too calm, she said. Like he already knew how it was gonna play out. Her words were haunting. You could feel the chill in the air. Candace took a deep breath and looked straight at the audience again. If you're ignoring what your own eyes see just to protect powerful people, she said slowly, then you're not part of a movement. You're part of a cover-up. Her tone dropped deep and deliberate, and everyone fell silent. That moment hit different, but the most shocking part came next. She played the viral clip of one of Charlie's friends standing on the chair he'd just been shot in, taking a selfie. He actually stood on the same chair and smiled, Candace said, half laughing, half horrified, saying Charlie got shot, like it was a concert update. What kind of reaction is that? The crowd gasped. People couldn't believe it was real. She didn't let the moment pass. And then they said Charlie supposedly told them to grab the SD cards to protect evidence, she said, eyebrows raised. Really? The man's bleeding out and his last words are, hey, grab the footage? Not call an ambulance? She let that hang in the air and it was dead silent. Nobody moved. Candace's expression hardened. The guy who took the SD card said cops told him to do it, she said. That's a lie. No cop says that. No officer tells a civilian to touch evidence. That's tampering, she shouted. And Turning Point USA knows it. The crowd was stunned. She leaned in toward the camera. Every piece of their story keeps changing, she said. First, they didn't know who took the cards, then they did. First, they said it was chaos, then they said it was all controlled. Which one is it? 'Cause it can't be both. Then she dropped another explosive detail. The so-called security team, she said with a bitter laugh. According to their version, they couldn't access the roof during the chaos because they didn't have the keys. What kind of top-tier event has a security team that can't even reach the roof? Her tone was pure disbelief. That's not security, that's sabotage. She explained how a local pastor allegedly told her that story art about the locked doors and the keys. If that pastor really said that, she said, then either he's lying or someone lied to him, because none of this makes sense. The crowd shouted in agreement. Exactly, someone yelled from the back. By this point, Candace had dissected every single part of the official story, From the missing footage, to the phone call, to the suspicious calm, to the bizarre SD card cover-up, every thread she pulled made the whole narrative unravel even more. Then came her mic drop moment, the one that went viral everywhere within hours. "They think you're stupid," she shouted. "They think slapping a flag and a hashtag on it will make you forget the facts. They think waving patriotism in your face will make you stop asking questions." The crowd erupted. People were on their feet. She wasn't finished. "They've done this for years, feeding you lies dressed as loyalty," she said. "They sell you pride while hiding the truth right behind it. That's the game. Keep you emotional, keep you divided, keep you blind." Candace then looked dead into the lens, her voice calm but cold. "Ask yourself, why does every story that questions power get buried? Why does every witness disappear? Why does every camera conveniently fail?" she asked. "Because they're not protecting truth. They're protecting themselves." Her next words cut like glass. "And you know what's even scarier?" she asked quietly. "The people you trust, the influencers, the media, the pastors, they're not confused. They're complicit." The room was silent. Everyone was holding their breath. She took a pause, her tone softening slightly. "If we don't ask questions," she said, "then we stop being thinkers. We become followers. Blind followers, and that's exactly what they want." Then, in one final explosion of energy, Candace turned her closing message into a rallying cry. "They can smear me all they want, call me crazy, call me dangerous. I don't care," she said, "because I'd rather be called crazy for asking questions than be called a coward for staying quiet." The audience lost it. Cheers, claps, chants, the whole room shaking with noise. She finished with one final promise. "I'm not backing down," she shouted. "I don't care how powerful they are. Truth will win, and when it does, they'll regret underestimating all of us who refuse to stay silent." Then, with that fire still burning in her eyes, Candace smiled and looked into the camera. If you've been following this wild story and you want to see what breaks next, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe for updates, and drop your theory down below. Share this video so more people can see what's hiding in plain sight, and then I'll see you on the next one.